That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. Good to be with you, my friend.
Yes,
we got a lot to talk about. Yeah. We got a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about. We're going to jump right into it. Look, we're going to do a little football talk tonight. We are live to our friends and fans on YouTube. You Get the Horn Show. And, of course, we'll cut this up in a million different pieces, and people will be able to consume this content in a million different ways on TikTok and everything else that You Get the Horn Show. So, yeah, they will know what we're here to talk about. But
that's right.
We got news flying fast and furious. We've got coming off of a very interesting weekend of NFL football. So we've got a ton of stuff to be able to discuss, and figure we might as well jump right into it. So maybe what we can do is kind of like a little whip around style, if you want. And we're not going to hit on every single game,
Sure.
Too many to talk about. We don't need to, but, I'll go ahead and play us in, get us some music here to get us pumped up for talking about the weekend. And then we'll jump through some interesting games and scores here. So let's get this baby started.
Yeah.
All right. Mm-hmm. That's right. All right. So where do you want to start for the weekend that was in the NFL? We had Thursday Night Football opener, Ravens Bucks, and then we went into the Sunday games. So don't know where you want to pick up, where you want to jump off.
Yeah, man. How about the Bucks losing? What is this now? Their third straight loss?
I believe it's something like that. But man, they're dropping games. I mean, I think they've and lost 4 of their last 5 or something.
Yeah, first time since 2002, Brady's lost 3 straight games. Isn't that crazy?
Wow, unbelievable.
Man. Yeah, I mean,
and also incredible to have been able to go that long without that happening to you. I mean, good Lord. That's insane.
That's crazy. The Bucks, man, I just don't know what it is with them. They just do not look good. And
no,
I mean, Evans played, Godwin played.
Fournette's in there.
Fournette played. I mean, yeah, I don't really know quite what it is with them right now. I mean, old? I don't know. I mean, Brady didn't play terrible. I mean, he had 325 and a pick or a touchdown. He didn't even throw a pick. But a
lot of that was, I will say, in kind of garbage time at the end of the game.
Sure.
He was obviously held in check. But still, I mean, look, at the end of the day, and, for people who check this out, I actually did a Thursday night football post-game show breaking down, a lot of the stats from the game and stuff like that. And some of the inside of the game, things that were going on. So there's tons and tons of detail to be able to go through in that clip. But yeah, this was an interesting game because you're right. I mean, and I'll tell you who looks awfully bad, and it's not just Brady and the rest of the players. It's head coach Todd Bowles. I mean, this is just not reflecting defense. Well. Yeah, legendary.
Todd Bowles defense.
I mean, at the end of the day, like you look at what this team did under Bruce Arians, and now same basic pieces. Again, I know they haven't been fully healthy and everything, but man, they just look totally disconnected. Brady's super frustrated, screaming at guys, during the game, and there's just a lot of frustration going on there because it's just not clicking for him.
No. I mean, they got the Rams coming up, Seahawks coming up, Browns coming up, Saints coming up. I mean, it's in the Niners, Bengals. I mean, it's not going to get easier for them, no. And I mean, and you would think like, oh, it's the Bucks. They're going to walk through them, but man, just not this year. I'm be curious to see if Todd Bowles is a one and done situation, and if Brady retires or goes elsewhere. If Arians doesn't seem to make his way back to the sidelines.
Yeah, maybe suddenly his health will improve and he'll be tired of spending that extra time with his family, and magically he'll be ready to.
That's exactly it. I can't. I don't buy for a second that he just just decided to give that up and let Bulls take over. Yeah. So we'll see. That's going to be interesting. Yeah. So, and then the Broncos get back on the winning ways, high kneeing it down the aisle.
And this dummy Russell Wilson, man, they barely pull out this win against the Jags. And at the end of the post game, he's still saying, Broncos country, let's ride.
Let's ride.
And it's just like, you don't hear any criticism, do you? You just don't have any earthly clue what people are saying about you.
That goes in one ear out the other. It does. I mean, good for him. I guess he's got incredibly thick skin, unless he just goes home and cries every night to Sierra. Why don't they like me?
Yeah, like, what more can I do? I said, let's ride.
Yeah, I kept my teammates up. How weird was that story? And who leaked that? Who leaked it, though?
It's probably dudes on his team who are getting sick and tired of having to deal with them. I mean, who else would it be, right?
I don't know.
Who's on the plane that can know this?
Like, and it wasn't for like 20 minutes. They're saying it's for hours. This dude is like doing high knee stuff.
It's so strange, man.
So weird.
And then later he's saying he has Wolverine blood and he heals really quickly from his hamstring injury. And it's just, he can't get out of his own way on this stuff, man.
What was where was he on Pardon My Take? And they asked him about Mr. Unlimited.
Yeah.
That's an inside joke. And then proceeds to not say what the inside joke is, only that this is my persona. Like, so is it a joke to you? Like, is that the inside joke, that it's just a joke to you?
Yeah, because I laugh about it because that's just an inside joke, and they were like, "Oh wow, okay, so what's that mean then? What's the joke?" He's like, "Oh, I just think that's how you have to live your life. I mean, I think you just have to take a view of being unlimited and push through challenges."
What does that even mean?
Yeah, now it turned into like one of these motivational posters that would hang in like a cubicle in an office or something, and it's like, well, then wait a minute, so it's not a joke. Inside or outside, it's just not a joke. You genuinely believe that you are Mr. Unlimited and that you're encouraging people to look at you that way and to look at themselves and live that way. It's so weird. Mr. Unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited. You got to be unlimited.
Yeah, it's like, okay, your regular persona is being widely despised right now. And so you believe that the better one is to be Mr. Unlimited. And it's like, whoa, don't defend that.
No, like you're a mid-30s guy. Like, you got a wife and you got kids. Like, just stop it. Stop. Like, just stop.
You gotta be unlimited.
Like, maybe you're just not good. Like, you're just not a good public speaker. It's cool. Like, just don't talk. Just don't talk.
Just go play football and shut up.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to have this outside life, like your outside social media stuff. You're just not good at it. You're not good at it. Like, play football. Just be good at football.
When he showed up at training camp, he shows up in this big truck. He has what are clearly photographers like that he wanted there from Denver taking pictures of him in front of this big truck as he's walking in with the sunglasses on, trying to look cool. He's wearing his own jersey. Like, who shows up to training camp wearing their own jersey for pictures? I mean, he literally is showing up just like strutting in there, showing off like, and it's always got this thing like, I'm macho, like I'm a real man, like I'm looking cool, I got my shades on, I'm strutting in front of this huge truck, like I'm the most masculine guy, I'm wearing a football jersey, but it's your own jersey, and it's like super weird. Like, show up in a John Elway jersey, show up in a Steve Atwater jersey if you wanted to throw it to something else, but like, man, or Peyton Manning, but don't wear your own jersey, you weirdo.
Right. Yeah, just like I said, just stop. Like, just stop. Quit. Just stop.
It's not good.
It's just not good, man. Now, we're gonna start it out here quick, man. But
go on.
Man, this is tough. This is tough because I don't know that this person has had enough time. But what I've seen from him, I'm calling Trevor Lawrence a bust.
Wow.
Is there anything about this guy's game that impressed? Like, he looks like Blaine Gabbert to me when he's out there playing.
He strung together a couple good weeks. He did prior to this week. He had strung together a couple.
A good weeks though for him is like what, 325 and 2 touchdowns and a pick. It's just. I just don't see it, and I don't want that to be true. And again, last year, I don't know. Do you call it a wash because Urban Meyer was there, and Lord knows what what he did to that poor guy. But yeah. It's just the little things. It's like his receivers are there. His receivers are in the right spot. He can't throw the ball with touch. It like just throws that you would expect like a superstar or a person that's been drafted to be a game changer, a once in a lifetime, this whole generational talent that apparently comes up 400 times a generation. He was the can't miss prospect. And yeah. I just, some of his throws that I see, I'm just, there's no touch with this ball. Like
do you think he's trying too hard? Is he trying to muscle it in there too much? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, it was just, wide open. I mean, I won't say wide open throws, but, throws to like the, to the end zone, to the pylon, and there's a receiver, there's a defensive person that's in front of him, but his guy's got to step, and you just gotta, just put a little air over it. It's too much of almost like a dart, and it's just getting tipped. And there was just passes, like you saw that with Patrick Mahomes' first year starting. You saw it with Joe Burrow, where you're just like, dang, man, boy, they got touch. There's just not a touch to the ball. I don't know. I mean, he really reminds me of Blaine Gabbert.
Wow.
He can run it. Yeah, he's got a good arm. Maybe he just hasn't all clicked yet. But, I mean, when he was in Clemson, like he was a stud. Everything he did was just perfect. And where you're like, yeah, I mean, tank for that dude. But I don't know, man. I hope be proven wrong on that, but I don't see it right now. I don't see it right now with him. There's nothing to me about him that screams this guy's going to be a superstar. And that's what you drafted him to be.
Very true. So, the only thing that I'll say there is, we got to keep in mind he's had 7 games with a real coach. And that real coach is Doug Peterson, who we do anticipate. I mean, he's done some good work with quarterbacks in the past. And,
yeah.
And I do think there's every possibility that, we'll start to see some change and some improvement there. He's had 7 games with a real coach and a whole new offensive system and everything else. So I don't disagree with what you're saying, but boy, that is a bold early call, which we love on the show. And unfortunately for some of these players, we seem to get them right more often than wrong. But that one's a bold one. Trevor Lawrence being a bust, but you might be right. You might just be right.
I mean, right now he's 10th in yards, 12th in touchdowns, 23rd in picks. So it was 10 touchdowns, 6 picks. His QBR's 21st. His passer rating is an 84.8. That's, 90.
So he's dead average, basically.
Yeah, I was going to say probably even a little below average because you figure an average QB rating is somewhere in the mid 90s most of the time if you're a good to decent quarterback. So, right now he's trending in the middle of the pack. He's 23. He just turned 23. So plenty of time, I suppose. Like I said, I don't want the kid to be a bust. I
Sure.
don't know the way he carries himself. Like, I don't know if he's too laid back. He's kind of got that like, California surfer vibe thing to him, where do you see scream leadership? Like I see, I hate to bring up Joe Burrow because I can't stand him, but you see him barking on the sideline. You see him, and I don't see that at Lawrence. It's like, here's what I have to do. Let me just do my job, and hopefully everyone else does their job. So, again, I hope I'm wrong. So far, I haven't seen anything that's jumped out of the page where you could be like, okay, yeah, that's something to grow and that's something to do, to go. You got the yards, but you got the receivers now too. And there were plenty of times I watched some of that game on Sunday and he had players open. He just either got cold feet Hurts footsteps and just, or didn't go through enough progressions to be able to get to, Christian Kirk, who you paid a lot of money to be the
Very
guy.
true.
He's open. I promise you, he's open. I mean, you even hear the announcers, the commentators like, "Oh, you had him." Like Christian Kirk is wide open here, and so we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
All right. Well, that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure. So
cue it up. I don't know how much time you give him. I mean, he's gonna. They're going to pick up his 5th-year option, I'm sure. I mean, this is what now his 2nd year, so he's got a couple years to pan out and to figure it out. So, again, I hope he does. I don't want the guy to be a bust.
Sure.
I feel bad that Jacksonville, I mean, the best quarterback Jacksonville's had at this point. I mean, they've had Mark Brunell. They've had some decent quarterbacks there. Leftwich in his prime, David Garrard in his prime. I mean, good, but just no one that's like, hey, I'm going to be here for 15 years. And,
right, that true franchise defining quarterback. Yeah,
exactly. So, and they drafted him to be that. So we'll see.
Very true. All right, we'll keep an eye on it. So where do you want to go to next?
Hey man, did you see? Did you see Patrick Peterson trolling Kyler Murray?
Oh man, playing the video games. Did you see him afterwards too? They asked him like, "Oh, what game were you pretending to play?" And he's like, "Look, man, I'm not a gamer. I think it was called Call of Duty. I hear there's a new one that just came out. Like, I don't know, man. That's not like I'm a football player, not a gamer."
Oh, that is so messed up. Oh,
well, and then at the end of the game, afterwards on the field, openly calling out Cardinals general manager Steve Keim, demanding to know where he is, wants to talk with him face to face. Apparently, Keim has been hiding from him, blowing him off, said he was going to call him back 2 years ago, never did, traded him away and never spoke with him. And I guess you read between the lines, it seems like Patrick Peterson wanted to have a conversation about this, and Steve Keim told him that he would, and then just never did. And Peterson clearly still pissed about it. The Vikings go out and beat the Cardinals on Sunday, and this was the only thing on Patrick Peterson's mind. You can tell he came into that game fired up. He stayed fired up well after that whistle had sounded to end the game. So
ended up 3 pass deflections. He was all over the field that game.
Yeah,
he played well. I mean, and. Yeah, that's crazy. I just because he got traded. So when he got traded, was it last year? Was it last off season or the season before?
I think season before. I think this is his 2nd year in Minnesota, but I can't even swear to that. We'd have to look that up. I'm not 100% sure.
I mean,
but he's still holding a grudge. There's no doubt about that. Don't piss off Patrick Peterson.
No, he's literally ready to fight poor Steve Keim.
Yeah, and you don't ever hear a player openly call out the general manager who traded him.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I want to see him in person, face to face. I don't even want him to see this. I don't want to talk with him here. I want to see him in person. Oh, so
he's in a pretty good spot. I mean, you went to Minnesota. You're now sitting here.
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, they're 6-1. Packers fall to 3-5. So, and they've already beaten the Packers, so that's essentially a 5-game lead. Yeah. I mean, you think of the tiebreaker. I mean, they're 7 games into the season, and they already have a 5-game lead. That's
pretty amazing.
Man.
No, I mean, look, if you want to play a winning team, be on Minnesota right now, not Arizona. You don't want to be in Arizona. You may prefer to live in Arizona over Minnesota. But man, you don't.
Take a losing season.
But as far as playing on a good team, I mean, you'd way rather be on Minnesota right now if you care about winning than in Arizona. Because I mean, look, you and I and the rest of the crew, and we text about this stuff quite a bit, and something is very broken in Arizona, and I mean, right before the season, they extended Kyler Murray, of course, signed him to a monster deal, which we at the time thought was ridiculous, dramatically overpaying him. And, he certainly hasn't played up to that contract so far. They extended head coach Cliff Kingsbury for reasons I will never understand. And they've seen no progress under Kingsbury. I mean, and then they also extended general manager Steve Keim. So you extended all three, the 3 things. And so now when it's not working, what do you do? Right? Who are you going to get rid of? It's probably going to be Kingsbury. If I had to take a guess, that's where you have to go.
Or Keim. I mean, it could be Keim at this point
be
because, yeah, I mean, you could start with Keim, but then again, you bring in another general manager. They don't want your leftover coaches. They always want to pick their own coach. And man, yeah, why? Why? I mean, is it a package deal? Like, are Kyler and Kingsbury just that inseparable? You wouldn't seem like it, considering the last game when they were like barking each other and Kyler was all in his face. And Kyler's projected 21 touchdowns and 13 picks this year. I mean, that's his projection right now. I mean, you know, and he's going to get the yards rushing. I mean, you know, he'll get those. And, you know, that's a big factor, I guess. It's, you know, but 4,200 yards, 21 touchdowns, 13 picks for, man, that is just, at the time, it didn't even make sense to, that you would have him. That you would extend him to that much. I don't know. Did you feel hamstringed into it? Like, we got no other choice at this point. Like, we have to sign him to this. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, a lot of money to be paying a guy who football just does not seem to be his passion. Football does not seem to be the number one thing that Kyler Murray cares about. When we know this, look, we're not going to beat a dead horse by talking about the provision that was put into that new contract, literally demanding that he watch a certain amount of game film every week. And no team has ever put something like that in there that was made
I should
public.
have told you all you needed to know.
Yes. If you need to put that in there, you don't have a franchise quarterback. Because a franchise quarterback in a perfect world, that's practically their life is football. I mean, and no greater example than Peyton Manning or Tom Brady when you look at those guys. They define their lives by how well, and I'm not saying that's healthy, but that's what happens when you're a great. And, you know, no team would have ever, if a team had to say anything to Peyton Manning, it would have been, we're going to request that you watch less film and spend more time with your family to force some sort of work-life balance. Not, you know, hey, we really would like you to actually study. It's just silly. And Arizona is just...
Frankly, it's embarrassing that you put that in there. Like, and then it got leaked that it was in there.
Then they're going to take it out. And just be like, it's like, this wasn't a mistake. You just got caught.
I wonder if they put it in there like PayPal put that whole $2,500 disinformation thing. No, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. And then 2 weeks later, you still see it's in there. You're like, oh, maybe they put that back into Kyler's contract. Let it die down, and then be like, nah, dude, we're reinstating that.
Yeah. Trust me, it's going to be there.
Yeah, clearly it's not working. So
no, not at all, not at all. And clearly that's become his defining characteristic because again, Patrick Peterson, when he's making moves, what's he doing? He's imitating Kyler playing video games.
That's come from somewhere.
Yep, that's his identity. That's his identity now in the league is a guy who doesn't really care that much about football and loves video games and would rather be playing video games. And now people are openly mocking him because of it.
And to see you mock like another player on another team, I don't know that you would openly see that very often. Like, I'm sure it happens, but especially if it wasn't true, they'd be like, nah, Kyler works hard. No, he's always studying film.
Patrick Peterson was his teammate. So this is not just a guy who thought it was a funny rumor or something like that. You are the guy's teammate. You were his teammate for several years. So you would, if you're choosing to take that shot, I think that, you know, it comes from a real place, right? I mean, like, you know, going back to that Thursday night game, you know, Tampa and Baltimore, you know, we saw early in the game, first or second quarter, Shaq Barrett makes a good defensive play and jumps up and does the kind of the legendary Ray Lewis dance. And you know, it's 10 minutes later that dude tears his Achilles and he's done for the year. So it's like those types of things you see occasionally happen, but like, I mean, this is a very specific mocking of a player. You know, that you just don't see very much. Cause I don't think, I mean, even in that scenario, Shaq Barrett's not truly mocking Ray Lewis. He's making a big play almost like a Ray Lewis, but obviously against the Ravens. And that's the idea. You know, this is like, this would be like if Patrick Peterson was playing against the Jets, scored a touchdown and then brought out Zach Wilson's own mom or something like that. From the stands or something, you know, like it was just like, wow, okay, this dude listens to the stories and you know, he's really using it to his advantage.
Dang, bro.
There are no rules in this game. But that's basically like, I mean, you just don't see it very much. So it is very interesting to see. And, you know, who knows how long that grudge will stay there with Patrick Peterson. But he's got a lot of anger issues when it comes to the Cardinals.
Boy, he is not a happy camper with them, that is for sure. He is not going into their ring of fame anytime soon. I promise you that. Jeez.
All right, so where do you want to go next?
Man, this is silly, but the Panthers had a chance to be number one in their division. Now, granted, it would have been at 3-5, but still,
sure,
they would have been number one. I mean, just that last second throw, perfect, and then DJ Moore loses his mind, takes his helmet off. And part of me gets it, and then part of me is like, bro, you had to have known. Like, this isn't like if the time hadn't expired. And then good on Arthur Smith to take that penalty on the extra point, which then puts him back kicking, was that as a 45, 48 yarder?
Something like that, yeah. And that's for your extra point to tie the game.
To tie the game, yeah. Or to actually take the lead.
Lost. Yeah. Oh, it would have been to take the lead.
That would have been to take the lead. So had they done that, they tied it up 34. This extra point would have been to take a 1-point lead. He misses it, and then they end up going into overtime. Get the ball back. Kicker misses it again, and then they take it down and score. It's just, man, you feel bad. I mean, Moore played a heck of a game. He had like a $152 and a touchdown, and that was on like 6 catches too. So I mean, he was stretching the field. 25 yards a catch. So I mean, and that's with PJ Walker throwing.
That's right.
And oh man, Donta Foreman had 118 yards and 3 touchdowns. And this was the week right after you trade, CMC. And, at that point you're expecting, you're going to lose the rest of the way out.
Yeah.
Foreman got cut last year, he gets picked up by, the Panthers and just puts on a heck of a show. And man, and then you lose because you just lost yourself in the moment. Take your helmet off. And again, like, do you need to? Like, what do you like? You can't celebrate with your helmet on. I don't know.
When you get to the sideline, you can't leave it on till you get to the sideline. At least, I mean, you've been playing football your whole life, your whole entire life, man.
Yeah.
You know what the rules are.
Yeah, it's not an NFL rule. Like, you can't do that in any level. You can't take your helmet off and celebrate. But
yeah, this is totally different than like, what constitutes a catch in college versus, the NFL, or advancing an interception in college versus the NFL. Like, I would understand those things if you were a rookie or something and you're just not using. This is not that. This rule has been consistent your entire life when you've been playing football from the time you were a child. Makes no sense. And then unfortunately, screws his team in that scenario. So that's a tough one.
That is a very tough one. But I mean, you come back just last second and I mean, he just blew past. I don't even know what the defenders were thinking. They just stopped. And wait, what? Why did you do that?
And a perfect throw too by PJ Walker. I mean, just like right in, right over his shoulder, right in the end zone. Dead. I mean, perfect. It was like the storybook ending for this Panthers team after losing Christian McCaffrey. Like you said, at this point, you're going to be losing the rest of your games. And here you are in this storybook ending to be able to come back and be like, wow, okay, all hope is not lost.
Right.
And then it was. Lost. So.
Even for a week to say you were leading that division without your quarterback, without your top running back. And just, I mean, granted, let's be honest, the kick should have been made. But I mean, even if
still
it's a 45, 48 yarder, it's still your job. But I mean, how much more pressure you put on the kicker, and we know they can be fickle for sure.
Yeah,
but, man, that was just such a tough way to go out. I mean, you just, you come all the way back. Falcons take the lead. Looks like here we are, and then boom, man, Walker makes just an unbelievable throw and catch, and then you just lose your mind, take your helmet off. So. Yeah.
Tough situation
to go out. Speaking of CMC, my goodness gracious, this dude was Mr. Do It All, throws it
Wow.
for a touchdown, catches one for a touchdown, rushes one for a touchdown.
This guy.
What a great pickup, man. Oh, he looks like there's just some guys you just see in a uniform and you're like, man, he just belongs in that uniform.
Yeah.
And you see him in that red and white and you're just, man, he just looks like he's always been made for the San Francisco 49ers. What a great pickup. And honestly, you picked him up and you were what? You were one game under 500 or you were 3-3 at that time? You picked him up, lost last week, I think, with him, and then get it back to 500. I mean, so I guess, because no one had really taken over that division, you just go out there and you take a chance, but heck of a chance. And everyone's still looking up at the Seahawks, man.
Oh my goodness. It is unbelievable. Seriously, I don't know how much money you could have made if you had bet on the Seahawks winning, even just winning their division this year would have been insane. I mean, and nobody would have thought Geno Smith. And I'll tell you this, Geno Smith is now in 10th place, according to Caesars, for likelihood of winning MVP this season. He is number 10.
We texted this, and I said there were some people saying that this dude could get some MVP consideration. I mean, top 10, and that's out of all quarterbacks, running backs.
That's everybody. Yeah, that's not top 10 quarterbacks. That's all players.
All players.
He's number 10
right
he's
now.
the number 10 most likely to win MVP of all players in the league.
I mean, listen, he's 8th right now. He's top 8 in everything. Top 8 in yards. Top 5 in touchdowns. He's got 13 touchdowns right now. Tied for 5th. 3 picks, which is also tied for 5th lowest. And then his QBR is 4th right now. He's 4th in QBR. I mean, say what you will about QBR. That's still someone projects him to be the 4th best quarterback right now. I mean, however you cut it, whether you like the QBR stats or you don't like the QBR stats, that's still pretty darn amazing. I mean, on pace for over 4,000 passing yards, 28 touchdowns. I mean, 32 years old, amazing. And you figured it out at 32. What? Has he always been this good and no one just gave him a chance? I don't understand. I don't know why all of a sudden Geno Smith is just playing out of his mind. So, I mean, Seattle's about to get a top, at this point, top 10 pick, and it's not going to be their own.
That's right. That's right. I mean, who would have ever thought this would play out this way? Because here's the thing, and before we kind of flip to the other side of this, I just want to make sure that we touch on this because we're talking about Geno Smith. But the Seahawks defense has quietly been playing fantastically. Listen to this stat. The Seahawks D has multiple turnovers in 6 straight games. They've had 2 or more turnovers in 6 straight games, and 7 of their 8 games this season, they have gotten multiple turnovers. And so, look, I mean, bottom line is I don't care who you have a quarterback, that sure makes the job an awful lot easier. If you're getting an extra
2 possessions, you got to figure, of course, we don't have all the stats pulled up. You got to think some of those are going to be in the opposing players' territories.
That's right. Absolutely.
Shorter fields and everything else. And then, man, everyone was down on Pete Carroll. Is he a genius? Does he just know what he's doing? I mean, they draft Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker has been leading the league in rushing ever since he's I mean, he's not number 1 right now, but ever since he started, he's been leading in rushing. Man, but he did at Michigan State. I mean, he's always just been just a fantastic runner. I mean, right now he's projected almost 1,000 yards, and he didn't play the first 4 games or whatever it was. I mean,
it's amazing,
crazy right now. So, I mean, that's the running the ball, playing solid defense, not turning the ball over.
It's not that hard, right? I mean, if you can do it,
recipe for success. You're going to win more than you're going to lose if you can control the clock. You can get them in turnovers, and not turn the ball over yourself. I mean, you're going to win games. It's a great recipe for success.
Yeah.
wish more teams would figure it out and try to work on that. You know, like
it's very, very true, man. It's amazing to see. And, I don't know. I'll be very curious to see how the second half of the season plays out for Seattle. I mean, they're really an interesting team to watch.
I mean, again, it could all go downhill, you know, it could just all kind of fall apart, but gosh, I'd have to pull up their schedule. I cannot imagine it's going to be a murderer's row of teams that they're going to be playing. I mean, they got the Cardinals, Bucks, Raiders, Rams, coming up in the next
every one of those games is winnable for them. Doesn't mean they'll win them, but they're all winnable.
Yeah. And you got the Panthers, 49ers, Chiefs, Jets, and the Rams again. I mean, it's there. And they've built a decent little cushion where, I mean, it's still very, very difficult to play in Seattle. It's still very, very difficult to play there. I mean, it's not an easy place. So, and
if they're still in contention late in the season, it's going to be an even harder place because fans there did not have expectations going into this year. So you better believe they're going to be going crazy if this team is still in contention late in the year.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah. So where do you want to go next? I have a couple ideas, but what do you where you want to go here? Quickly,
we always do this, and I guess we just have to know better and not to. We always write Tennessee off. We always say this is the year. I think this is the year, and now they've won 5 straight games.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
very quietly.
Not a murderer's row of teams again that they're facing. Beat the Texans, but they beat the Texans without Tannehill. I mean, they got some decently tough games coming up. They go to the Chiefs, Broncos, Packers, Bengals, Eagles. So I mean, we'll see how well they keep it up. But man, it just feel like every single year they start out and we're like, this is it. This is it. And every single year they just keep winning games. So,
well, and it helps when you're playing the Texans, you're playing the Colts, who, I mean, at this point, look, if I'm Frank Reich, I am not feeling overly confident that I'm going to make it through the year with the way that they're playing and what they've done. I mean, you know, you gave up capital in order to be able to bring in a Matt Ryan. Now you're to the point before the halfway point of the year, you've already benched Matt Ryan. You're putting in a Sam Ehlinger. You're losing games. I mean, gosh, it's just hard to imagine. I mean, in this year, they've lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Washington Commanders. I mean, they can't win the games they're supposed to win.
Tied the Texans.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So you tied the Texans, you lost to the Jags. I mean, you're losing to teams like the Commanders. They're one of the worst teams in football right now. And that was not expected going into this year. I mean, when they were going out and getting Matt Ryan, it was very much like, hey man, we just need you to be a game manager. Yep. We've got Jonathan Taylor. We're going to run the ball. We've got a solid defense. You know, we've got Darius Leonard, who now has chosen to, change his name, but regardless, we've got a good defense. We've got a great running game. We've got a decent offensive line. All you got to do is be a game manager. And instead, the offensive line has sucked. They haven't run the ball well at all. The defense has underperformed. And you put a ton of burden on Matt Ryan, who couldn't carry that burden. And I can't even knock him for that.
Yeah, I mean, he looks old and done, obviously. Yeah. I mean, he can't move. I mean, younger Matt Ryan can at least escape the pocket. I mean, he can't go anywhere. But, I mean, this was it. This was, this was Irsay pretty much saying Carson Wentz was the whole entire problem. This is going to fix everything, and here we are. I mean, granted, I mean they're 3-4-1 right now, so they're not out of it. But I would have to say their stock is trending way down. So but
disappointing.
What do you got?
Well, man, look, I this is one I wanted to kind of. This one's very much in your wheelhouse here. We had some conversation about this, and I feel like I want to give you the opportunity to kind of vent a little bit about what's been on your mind as it pertains to your team,
New York Giants. or the New York Jets.
You've switched allegiances now to
Buffalo Bills.
You yourself. It's the trade deadline is tomorrow. You are a free agent right now. You are open to joining any team.
Listen, I can change that helmet at any point in time. You just name your price at this point.
Yeah, I mean, look, we got to talk about it. And we give you the opportunity to rant and vent a little bit here about the Pittsburgh Steelers and some of the decisions that are being made. Look, you're obviously a huge fan. You've been a fan. You're from that area in Pennsylvania, so you come by it honest. So look, you can speak to it much more educatedly and eloquently than I would be able to. So, I'm going to give you the floor here to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, what you've seen, and what your thoughts are.
Well, I haven't seen anything at this point. So, for one, how we've won 2 games is really it's amazing. I mean, it's an absolute insane that this team has won 2 games at this point this year. They're averaging 15 points a game, which is now dead last because the Broncos scored more points. So we were ahead of the Broncos, and now we're dead last. 15 points a game.
Wow,
dude! They threw up a stat on Sunday, and I don't know if you got to see it, but they threw up a stat. Philadelphia in the second quarter has outscored Pittsburgh the entire season.
Wait, you're saying that the Philadelphia Eagles have scored more points in the second quarter alone of games they played this season than the Steelers have scored in the entire game of all games they've played in for the entire season?
Unfortunately, that is exactly what I'm telling you. Yeah, it was, oh my gosh, at that point it was like 100 and because we scored 13. So like 107 to like 126 or something like that.
That's
I think
incredible.
Because apparently Philly only scores in the second quarter, but they literally had outscored them in the second quarter alone. So at that point, what are we? 6 games, so 6 quarters and to 36 quarters. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Wow.
So I think they had said essentially like a game and a half of football to the Steelers. At that point, I guess that would have been, 5 games,
6 or 7 games,
6 games, 6 games, 7 games. Yeah.
Yeah. 7.
So in a game and a half, they had outscored Pittsburgh in 7, what Pittsburgh had scored in 7 games. Yeah.
Dude, that is pretty hard to believe.
It's just unbelievable, and this starts top down. I mean, first off, I love the dude. I think he's an amazing human being. But Najee Harris was a luxury pick that the Steelers did not have the luxury to pick. When you needed offensive line, when you needed, you had, Landon Dickerson out there. There's so many different places you could have gone with that line, and you decided that you're going to take Najee Harris, who is really, perfectly honest, is being outplayed right now by Jaylen Warren, who was an undrafted free agent.
Wow.
The way Jaylen Warren runs the ball, you're like, I don't know what Najee's doing. I don't know if he's just pressing too hard. First off, it's not really his fault. I mean, they're putting him in a position where it's, first down, hand the ball off. And they all know that it's coming. That's the thing. They all know that it's coming. They know what's going on. They know what's going to happen here. And it's just, it's terrible, man. It's just, but
it's hard to believe. It's really hard to understand. How is an undrafted free agent running better than Najee Harris? It's the same offensive line. It's the same offensive scheme. It's the same game plan. Why would that be happening? And then obviously I know you guys are still really sorting through some things at the quarterback position. A lot of unknowns, I think, as it pertains to that.
So here's the thing. as much as I said, and gosh, there's probably going to be some bias in here, of course. But when I watch Kenny Pickett play, I look at him and I say, he gets it. Like, he understands it. He's a gamer. He stands in there. He and sometimes he puts himself in, in bad spots. But the teams are the team's putting him in a bad position. That's the thing. I mean, we had that game, not one. I mean, there was never a point in that time yesterday that I thought, okay, we got a chance. But they had it tight. They had it close. We drive down. We had a backup kicker in, and we managed to get it down, kick a field goal, and get it within at probably 10 points at halftime. And you're like, all right, I feel
within striking distance.
I feel pretty decent about that. And then the second quarter happens, or second half happens, and it just all completely goes downhill from there. And Matt Canada should be fired. And I'm not the only one who thinks this, of course.
No, definitely not.
There's no reason at all this guy should be here. You have George Pickens, who I swear the only routes he calls for George Pickens is sideline one-handed acrobatic catches, because that's all you throw to him. Yeah. There's no middle of the field. I think they're allergic to the middle of the field. Like it's like the floor is lava, and apparently that's the middle of the field. There's no over the middle of the field catches. I am.
That's tough.
Listen to this. Okay. I got so many stats here I got to throw up here that just make you sick. Distances of the Steelers' 10 offensive touchdowns this season. 8 yards is the longest.
Wow.
1-8-5, 1-1-2, 6-6-7, and 1.
Wow.
That's the longest touchdown passes they've had this year.
Wow. So there's no pushing the ball downfield effectively at all.
No, they're all these bubble screens. They're all these, just short little outs. And it's like, are you afraid to let him throw the ball down the field? Like, right. But they weren't letting Trubisky do it either. So I don't know. I just can't imagine that Mike Tomlin is just telling Matt Canada, like, dude, just do whatever you want to do. Like, I'll just worry about other stuff. Let me just work on my Tomlinisms, and you worry about it. Like, I assume he has to be involved in this, and he has to be looking at this.
If he's not, he should be, right? Because you're seeing this thing falling apart in real time. So I understand delegation for sure, but let's face it. I mean, when you see it's not working and not working consistently, your job as a coach is to get involved and say, okay, man, we've got to figure some things out here because it's not working, and start to, take not only responsibility, but really start to put your own fingerprints on what this thing's going to look like.
And that's exactly it. But I don't. Okay, here it is. This is what I was looking for. Sorry, I was a little distracted because I found this and I wanted to bring this up. This was Sunday. This is the position you're putting your rookie quarterback into, and a lot of this is just undisciplined. A lot of this is just terrible play calling. Generic play calling, the stuff we saw last year where it was run the ball on first down, run the ball on second down. Now you're 2nd and 6, throw the ball for 5 yards and punt, right? Yeah. That's what we saw. So listen to this. This is second down and long distance. The Steelers faced on Sunday. This is their second down, what they faced on second down. 2nd and 10, 10, 13, 7, 18, 10, 10, 10, 7, 8, 10, 7, 10, 9, 10, 16, 7.
How is that possible? What are you doing on first down that not only are you not gaining yardage, but you're actually oftentimes, it sounds like roughly 40% of what you said there, that they're losing yards on first down?
Yeah. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 20 that I just read there was either 2nd to 10, or more on second
Wow.
down. This is why you're getting killed. They had the ball quite a while. The Steelers did. I mean, yesterday, mostly because Jalen Hurts just would throw the ball at A.J. Brown on one play,
Right. Just instant score, and then
the same exact play 3 times in a row, and we get the ball back. But this is what you're putting your rookie quarterback into. How do you? I mean, how do you look at him and how do you say, "Yeah, dude, sorry."
Yeah.
It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. And I think he has it. I think he has the moxie. But let me tell you, so did David Carr.
Mm-hmm.
So did he when he first came out.
Yeah.
And you saw how quickly this dude lost it because he was put in those positions where he was being sacked all the time. Man, they were just all over this dude. And here's the thing. Here's the guy that was all over him was Javon Hargrave, who was a Pittsburgh Steeler, who we let go because we wanted to re-sign Stephon Tuitt, and we didn't have any space. 3 sacks all over the field. I mean, he was just a game wrecker. And I'm sure there was a little extra to that that we let him go. I had a buddy when he first he's an Eagles fan and was like, "Hey, what do you know about this guy?" I was like, "Dude, he's going to be fantastic." And he was hurt a little bit, but I'm telling you, he was a game wrecker. What we need, because we don't have anyone on that line outside of Cam Hayward, and you got Highsmith on the end, he's top 5 in sacks right now, but.
Yeah.
A lot of that is coming because of TJ Watt and how one person can make a difference. The Steelers have probably the highest paid defense right now in the whole entire league. And this is the garbage that they're putting up. They're giving up, I want to say probably pushing 25 points a game. And it's an absolute mess. This is a bye week this week. This should be the time that ownership says to Tomlin, you have to make a change. You have to do something different. And first thing to go should be Matt Canada. I argue that Terrell Austin should be let go, and they should promote Brian Flores to DC. And Tomlin needs to take over play calling duties or find someone else who can do it. I don't know. I don't know who can do it. To be honest, I'm not even sure he is capable of calling the plays. But that's where it needs to start. But that has to start from the top. They have to say, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You've been here. This carte blanche stuff is over. Like it's time. This is embarrassing. We're the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers. Our season is over at this point. We're sitting at 2-6. We're ready to make a top 3 draft pick right now.
Wow.
The last time we drafted, I think it was 8th. Was when we took Plaxico Burress. How many years ago was that?
Oh my God.
That was the last
early to mid 90s or something. I mean, that's been a long time ago.
Yeah, probably early 2000s.
Wow.
2007, 8, maybe something like that. I mean, it was. That's how long it's been. I texted you guys like I don't know. I don't know how other teams. I don't know how other fans deal with this. Like, what do you do when your season's over this early?
Plaxico Burress was drafted in the 2000 draft.
2000 draft.
22 years ago.
That was the highest draft pick we've had. And I don't know. Like, what did Cleveland fans do? What did the Jets fans do? What do you do with yourself? Do you take up a hobby? Do you
start crocheting?
Yeah. I'm going to start going on like fall walks with my wife. Like, I don't know.
Go to a pumpkin patch. We're going to make candy apples this weekend.
Got a big day ahead of us. You got to watch football? I don't know. I don't know if we'll have time.
I don't know.
I don't know if we'll have time.
Bath and Beyond.
Yeah. I just don't know. I don't know what to do with myself. Like, and then I don't know if I want them to do any better. Like, do I want them to finish 500?
Right.
I don't know what good's that going to do. I mean, I don't know. Is that good for the psyche of the team? I don't care. Honestly, figure out an injury, for Minka.
Yeah.
I don't know, make up something. I don't care. Set him out the rest of the year, and then tell us TJ had a setback, and you're just going to put him on IR, and just let it go. And don't be afraid at this point if you put Kenny Pickett in every single situation, because you already have, but put him in, throw him in the fire. Let's figure it out, because you know what? There are a ton of quarterbacks that are coming out in this draft.
Sure are. This is a quarterback heavy draft.
And if he
Some
can,
big names,
that's what I would love to see, progression from him to where you're like, we're good at quarterback. And then, still lose the games out. This is terrible. I don't even talking like this as a Steeler fan. This is sacrilege.
Yeah.
But lose the games out, get that number 1, number 2 draft pick, and then sit there and wait for the phone to ring for some desperate QB needy team to come up. And then you start building your team up from the draft. I mean, that's about the only thing I can do. And if your first eight of your 9 picks aren't offensive linemen, then you fire the guy and you bring someone else in. Because I mean, at this point, this is what you need. You need, you're going to beef up that offensive line. You need to beef up that defensive line. And the fact that we've neglected it, I mean, and we were a little rich there for a while at that position, and it was nothing we ever usually really needed to worry about. But now, guess what? You need to. So let's get back to it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, here's what I want to do. We're going to do something we haven't done before.
Oh,
I'm going to put you on a timer. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. 60 seconds to say exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers need to do, in your opinion, to either fix the season or scrap the season. What changes you want to see. Okay. 60 seconds to get it all out. Okay. You've got 60 seconds to remedy the Steelers' problems. Are you ready to do that?
No, but let's do it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
60 seconds starting now.
All right. I'm remedying the Pittsburgh Steelers season. I'm on the clock here, as you can see.
You're on the clock.
Here's what I'm doing. First thing, Matt Canada, it's been nice knowing you. Get your stuff and get out of this building. We don't want to see your face again. Tara Austin, nice knowing you as well. You seem like a super good dude, but we're letting you go. Hey, Brian Flores, guess what? You just got a job promotion. Kenny Pickett, this is what we're doing. We're putting you in a position to win football games. Najee, let's go ahead and have you take a seat for a little while. Let's go ahead and just let you rest. Let's get your mind right. Hey, Jalen, show us what you got. And then let's go ahead and just lose out the rest of the year so we can have a really, really nice top draft pick.
60 seconds. 60 seconds. That's
it. All right.
That's it.
All right.
Wow.
That's what I'm doing.
Wow.
That's what I'm doing. I'm letting because I think Najee's pressing. I think he wants to impress. I think he wants to turn every play into a home run. And he's never been that guy, which I don't understand why he's trying to be that guy. Like, he was never that guy in college. He was the bruiser. Yeah. He was the guy that could run it up the field, get you 10, 12 yards, but he wasn't going to break it for 60 yards. I think his longest run in college probably was 30 yards, 40 yards, maybe.
No, he just pound it between the tackles and just wear down that defense.
Do that. He caught a pass yesterday, and he made up for it, but he caught a pass where it was 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and they threw just a little another bubble, of course. But he catches it. He's kind of the outlet. He's kind of the relief. They throw it to him, and instead of just putting his head down and just running straight forward, which he clearly would have had, he was literally dancing side to side, and the guys just come up and tackled him. Like, dude, you're not that guy. Now, the very next play, of course, same thing. It was 4th down. They actually did another little swing pass, and, great catch, and puts his head down and runs. Actually tried to hurdle a guy right on the sideline, which I have no idea where he thought he was going to go. But again, just trying to do too much. Like, just calm him down, set him down, let him relax, let him just dude, you don't have to be everything. Like, he's trying to be this team leader, and you don't have to be this guy. So,
well, all right. So we just had a 10 or 15 minute long rant about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we've solved their problems.
Sure. Fire everybody.
Yeah. I don't know that they're going to take your advice. But
no, you know what is going to be the exact same thing. The standard is the standard, says Mike Tomlin, and the standard is we suck, apparently. So nobody can be held accountable. It's not one man's fault. It's not, it's not Matt Canada's fault, even though this is 2 straight years of just garbage. But
you haven't seen it work with him. You just haven't seen it work with Matt Canada.
No, not even a little bit.
And no signs that it's going to start working. To be honest with you,
they did have a nice little swing around to Chase Claypool, who on the goal line, again another 1 yard, and he takes it like they were gonna run it, and he's left-handed, so he's coming around onto that side of the field and was able to pull up and throw it for a touchdown to the other Watt, who again I have no idea why he's on the team except for his brother's on the team, because we don't ever use him as a fullback. We got a fullback that we're paying $2 million a year to, who doesn't play fullback apparently. So
just to keep TJ happy.
I don't know. I guess this is what it is. So
yeah.
All right.
Well, there you go. So Pittsburgh Steelers, you are officially off the clock. And as painful as that was, I think you've diagnosed most of what is needed for that team to improve. Whether they take your advice or not, at least you've certainly been willing to give it to them.
Hey, so that's all you can do. That's all you can do. You put it out there. You either take it or you don't.
That's it. All right. So now where we want to go here. So we'll probably start to slowly, consider wrapping up here at some point. But do we want to touch on any other games? One thing I want to touch on briefly, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with this, but while we're talking right now, Monday Night Football is being played, and a couple interesting things here. So, first of all, just to kind of discuss where the game stands right now. So, Monday Night Football being played currently, we have the Bengals and the Browns this week, and currently the Cleveland Browns are beating the Bengals 8-0 with 5 minutes left in the second quarter.
Must have been a penalty on an extra point or something, huh?
Yeah.
I love that new wrinkle, man. I love that every team is going for it now too.
Well, and I'll tell you something very interesting that happened in this game. So apparently Amari Cooper, they give him the ball on like a trick play, a gadget play. And he takes the ball and actually, for some reason, throws it directly at a defender who just instantly intercepts it. Like he's running the ball. They give him the ball on like an end around, and he just rears back and throws the ball directly at a defender standing in front of him, like hits him in the gut. The guy just picks the ball. Like no one knows. ESPN's wondering what in the world was he thinking. Like this is just more weird stuff from the Cleveland Browns. I don't think anyone understands what's happening in Cleveland ever. But even in the Battle of Ohio, this is a weird wrinkle in the game plan there. So
hilarious.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just trying to take him out, dodgeballing it.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know we'll probably talk more about it tomorrow, because tomorrow is the trade deadline. But the Ravens getting Roquan Smith, which I think is a good thing. But here's what I think is a better thing. It's the Chicago Bears. Now, again, they've got to make something of it. It's one thing to have it, but it's another thing to actually do something with it. They now have 9 draft picks in 2023. And listen to this, $100 million in cap space.
It's insane. It is unbelievable. And you've seen what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do with draft capital without that much cap space. I mean, the Bears will find a way probably to screw it up because they're the Chicago Bears.
That's exactly right.
But, man, you can't ask for much more than what they have right now. Just the list of picks they have is unbelievable.
It's crazy. And I honestly, like, Justin Fields, to me, hasn't played as terrible lately. So again, I just don't know what he is. I feel terrible for for Bears fans. I mean, they just never seem to get the quarterback position right. But I mean, and in his defense, I mean, really, Darnell Mooney is his number one receiver right now. Yeah. So I'll be curious to see what they do with this offseason. I mean, you'd think they've got to beef up the running back position. They've got to beef up the receiver position. But, I mean, if they do, I mean, they got the pieces now to do it. I mean, for sure, 9 draft picks and $100 million. You can probably convince some people to freeze their balls off in Chicago.
It's true.
When you got that kind of money laying around. So, but I presume you're probably pretty happy with the Roquan Smith trade.
I am. I'm very happy. I it's funny. So, I was predicting that the Ravens would sign Roquan Smith back in August.
Now, listen, I can confirm this. Everyone's saying, bull crap. This guy acts like he's Nostradamus. But I can promise you, he did. We have the receipts for it that he did predict this. He didn't know if it would happen.
Yes.
But it was one of those be on the lookouts, this could be interesting type of situation. I mean, he seems like a Raven, right? I mean, we talked about Christian McCaffrey in the Niners jersey. Roquan Smith is going to fit quite nicely in there.
Look, the Ravens obviously have a very rich linebacker history. And I don't know if Roquan will be there long term or not. But let me give you a few details that have come out about the deal. So first of all, the Ravens got him for a 2nd and a 5th round draft pick. Roquan Smith leads the league in tackles this season by a large margin. The guy has 83 tackles. We're not even at the halfway point of the season.
Yeah.
So, it's very impressive. He's 2nd in the NFL since 2018 for tackles, only behind Bobby Wagner. And I'm almost signed with the Ravens in the preseason before he decided to go to the Rams.
And I'm pretty sure I heard that he led the league in tackles like the past 4 straight years, Roquan.
It's something like that. I'm looking here.
4 or 5 straight years, and they may have meant 5 years as being this year, but I'm pretty sure. Now, again, I think we talked about this. I don't know what a tackling linebacker does for you. Like, does that? I don't know where those tackles are. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
agreed.
Where are those tackles at? Are those tackles, 8 yards down the field? Are those tackles at the line of scrimmage? I would be curious to see how that breaks down. I mean, tackles are great, but I don't know. Is that a great predictor of how amazing a guy is? I don't know. I mean, it's a heck of a pickup. As a heck of a pickup, I'll give him that much.
Roquan Smith is an all-pro linebacker, not a Pro Bowl linebacker, an all-pro linebacker. He has 83 tackles, but he also has 2.5 sacks and 2 interceptions this season. So just this season alone, here's the thing, though, that I think is very interesting. So when you look at what Roquan Smith was due to make this season, he is owed $5.4 million for the rest of the season.
This is stupid. Now, I know where you're going to go with this. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He's owed $5.4 million for the rest of the season. Somehow, the Ravens got the Bears to pay $4.83 million of that.
Yeah.
The Ravens are paying Roquan Smith the league minimum of $575,000 to come in and play for them for the rest of the season.
Like I would say, you give up a second and a second and a fifth?
Second and a fifth.
And have to pay the full salary. Like
right.
To have to only pay $500, I would think, okay, we're going to need your first and your fifth. if we're going to have to pay another $4 million on top of this. Yeah. I did not get that at all. I heard that and I had to, did they just say they only have to pay $515,000 of this? How did they do this?
Yeah.
And I assume it was to get the second round pick out of them. So does that mean there was no other suitors?
Well, this is very early in the process, right? So, I mean, the trade deadline's tomorrow night. I do think things would heat up, and I'm guessing that that's why the Ravens just made the move to close the deal now, because, once word really got out on what might be out there, someone else could have outbid them. And the Bears probably just looked at it like a bird in the hand, right? We need to move the guy and we want to build up this draft capital. But for the Ravens to be able to have, gotten Roquan Smith for a second and a fifth, and not have to pay him. They paid him $575,000, the league minimum. And the Bears are essentially paying Roquan Smith to play for the Ravens for the rest of this season.
Yeah.
I think it's a phenomenal deal for the Ravens, obviously. Now, the Ravens do not give up draft capital very easily. They historically, they build their teams through the draft.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you guys had what? 9, 10 picks this class, and you used them all.
Every single one. Yeah. So they do not give up draft capital easily. So this makes me think that they have reason to believe that they will be able to sign Roquan Smith. Because I don't think you're going to give up that much draft capital, which again, a second and a fifth doesn't sound like a lot, but for the Ravens, that's a lot to give up.
That's a lot.
I don't think you're going to give him up to play half the season. And then lose him. So, there's some rumors out there that, the extension's already kind of been agreed upon, so to speak, before he came in. No idea if that's true right now. We'll certainly see what happens, and we'll keep our ear to the ground. If we hear anything, we'll make sure to report it. But, right now, don't know for sure if that's true, but to be able to get Chicago to cover the bill, if you're Baltimore, you're looking at it going, look, if we get him signed, great. Here's the missing link, though. If the Ravens after the season are able to get Lamar signed and they don't have to franchise tag him, then they have the ability to franchise tag Roquan for next season. And that could be advantageous. They won't be able to do it in the event that they don't get Lamar signed, because then they'll have to use the franchise tag on Lamar. But if they can get Lamar signed, then they can turn around and flip the franchise tag and put that on Roquan, and now you have him for a year and a half, and minimally, and then you have time to try to get him signed. So it could be very interesting, but
I don't know what a guy like this is worth. Like, that's the thing. Now, I did read that he's only 25.
Yes. He's 25 years old.
Insane. He became the first player since Ray Lewis to post 300 or more tackles and 30 or more tackles for losses during a 2-season span. So last year he finished with 163 tackles, 12 tackles for losses, 3 sacks, 3 passes defended, and 1 interception. Which he returned for a touchdown. So I wonder, I don't know what that market is. Who was his comp? Who, I mean, linebackers aren't getting, linebackers are getting paid, but are they getting, because that was his whole deal, right? Like, unless he just really wanted out in Chicago, like he really just wanted a new deal.
Well, I can tell you this, what I've heard, listening to ESPN radio talking about this, they felt like he's a $20 million a year player. That's a steep price to pay. I don't know what that looks like, but that the guy's a game wrecker when he's in full Roquan mode. Now, he's been inconsistent, but that's, part of that could easily be blamed on the frustrations of playing for the Chicago Bears as well.
Yeah.
One of the things, though, that is going to be interesting, and we talked a little bit about this, you and I, earlier today, Roquan in Chicago has been playing weak side. He will play strong side in Baltimore because Patrick Queen plays weak side. Patrick Queen has excelled as a weak side linebacker, struggled as the strong. So I think it's going to be a little interesting to see that, but particularly Roquan excels in pass coverage.
Which is huge because when you're on the strong side, you're going up against tight ends, you're going up against, so I would be curious now, has he ever played strong or has he only ever been weak?
I don't honestly know for sure. I haven't had the time to do like a full deep dive on everything.
It literally just happened. So yeah.
Yeah. But I think the thing that's going to be interesting. So if you look at this from a scheming perspective, that Ravens secondary with a Marcus Peters, a Marlon Humphrey, a Marcus Williams, who's out right now with a wrist injury, but will be back in a few weeks. A Chuck Clark at safety, a Kyle Hamilton, the rookie, at safety. And then you also roll in a Roquan Smith playing that linebacker position, but helping that pass defense. Man, it starts to get really interesting as this team gets progressively more healthy. Because here's the thing. If you're strategically looking at who are the teams that they have to be able to beat, it's the Cincinnati Bengals, it's the Buffalo Bills, it's the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Yep. Those are the AFC teams that the Ravens are, have to be most concerned about being able to win games against. What do they all have in common? Excellent quarterbacks, really, really good wide receivers. I mean, you got a Jamar Chase, you've got a Stephon Diggs, and obviously Travis Kelce and a series of receivers there in Kansas City. And so when you think, okay, what are Roquan's strengths? Speed, side to side, and great huge, pass coverage. I mean, that's exactly what they need in that position. And so this is an all-in move by the Ravens to win this season, no matter what. I think they see a window, and I think they see this as a potential missing piece for them that could really, again, change some of their scheming. And, my guess is if you're a Roquan Smith, you could be very invigorated by the idea of being able to come in and play for a contending team versus feeling like you're kind of wasting your career in Chicago and winning 3 games a year. So I'm definitely very curious. I'm super excited about it. But yes, back in August, and I said at the time that I didn't necessarily think it was going to happen, particularly in the preseason, before the season. But I said I just, for whatever reason, felt like Roquan Smith is a player to keep your eye on coming to the Ravens back in mid-August. And I just think it's such a natural fit. I think the guy could be an absolute game wrecker.
Yeah,
and
I think so too.
I'm excited to see what happens. And, they just brought in Deshaun Jackson at wide receiver who hasn't played yet. And, I think this week he'll probably play for the first time. Rashad Bateman's out with a foot injury still, a few more weeks. But man, if you can put in, you have Rashad Bateman out, but then you put in a Deshaun Jackson, you accelerate that speed. You got Mark Andrews underneath. I think particularly the second half of that Bucks game on Thursday night looked like 2019 Ravens, where they just started leaning on the defense. They wore the defense out completely, and they just started pounding the ball, running through them. You got Ronnie Stanley starting to get healthy, get his legs back under him after having been out for a year and a half or 2 years with an ankle injury, all-pro offensive lineman. And so I just feel like, man, the Ravens are starting to get healthy. I think, it's going to get interesting. I don't know that they're going to, go to the Super Bowl this year, but man, I think they have some of the pieces in place, and as they continue to get healthier, it seems like it's starting to happen at the right time. So, this upcoming week, they play Monday Night Football next week against the New Orleans Saints. Then they have a bye week. Then they come back and they play the Carolina Panthers. And so, in a short period of time, I really think, and it just in general, if you look at the schedule for the Ravens, it's pretty forgiving the rest of the way. And so just don't be surprised. Getting a little echo there. A really bad echo there.
Nope.
Not sure what happened. Okay, I think we're good now. But anyway, so I think it's going to be interesting to see where we go with it. Yeah, I got a really bad echo there.
There we go. Better?
Yeah, I hope so.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, good. So, so when you look at it for the Ravens, you go the Saints, then a bye week, then it's the Carolina Panthers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Denver Broncos, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons, the Steelers again, and then the Bengals. So, I mean, they're in a position to win all but, who knows, maybe one or two games, the entire rest of the season. So it could get interesting and as they're getting healthy. So yeah, long story short, the Roquan move I think is going to be a big one. I'm very curious to see some other moves that are going to play out here, for the end of the trade deadline. So do you have any thoughts? I know there's been some talk about Chase Claypool getting moved and some other guys. Do you have any inside info that you want to share with the people here?
No, I can't. I would be shocked if it happened. I just don't even know what you would give up or what you would get. I just don't even think would be worth the time or effort. I mean, people say, oh, well, then that's going to leave George Pickens more opportunities. And, well, I mean, if George Pickens is better, then let George Pickens be better. Right. But that doesn't mean you don't need, 3 receivers. Like, who are you replacing them with? Like, that's always the thing. It's like, okay. And Calvin Austin is still injured, another rookie very high on. So, I mean, there's a chance if they really, really want to just, say, screw the season, let's just, it's just not the Steeler way. I mean, they traded Melvin Ingram at the trade deadline last year. And that was just really because he did not want to be there. He wasn't being played the way he wanted to be played. So I mean, that is for me, like that's I just don't see. I don't see it. So I'm going to be curious if there's there's talks Kareem Hunt. There's talks Alvin Kamara. I'm going to be curious if any of those guys go because I could see now Kareem Hunt in Buffalo would make a ton of sense. I think. I mean, I can't imagine that they're married to Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. Like I can't imagine that they're like, yeah, these are our guys. So I could see him there. I think you wouldn't have to give up as much as you would for a Kamara because I mean I'm hearing the Saints want at least what the Panthers got for McCaffrey and I just can't imagine that they're going to give up that much. And then I don't know, is Alvin Kamara that much head and shoulders above Kareem Hunt? I don't know. I mean, he's definitely better, but is he like a second, third, fourth, whatever it was? 3 picks better, or is, could you get Kamara for a 4th or a 5th? And
here's my thinking on this, and this is just a prediction, right? Don't take it as anything more than that. I have no inside information about this particular move. Sometimes here on the show, we do have inside information and we share that stuff. This is not based on that. I want to be super clear. This is just my own projection. So we heard that the Bills also contacted the Saints about Alvin Kamara. My theory here, and it's only a theory, it had come out that the Eagles were in significant talks with the Saints regarding making a move for Alvin Kamara. I think the Bills may have made that call, but then also may have leaked the fact that they made that call in order to drive up the price on the Eagles. Meanwhile, they go after Kareem Hunt. The Saints certainly would have had it in their best interest to make sure that it was out there, because they want the appearance of a bidding war to make sure that Philly or anyone else is going to offer them top dollar. And I think it becomes very easy for the Bills to then focus their attention on a Kareem Hunt and let the Eagles be worried that they may lose out on Alvin Kamara. So if I had to predict, I'm going to say that I think the Eagles might actually pull off Kamara. And then if anything happens with the Bills, I think they go the Kareem Hunt route, which I think makes a ton of sense. And they're going to be dangerous if that happens. I mean, it's going to be very challenging. Kareem Hunt is a heck of a player and wasting away in Cleveland.
Do the Eagles need Kamara?
Well, look, I don't think need is really necessarily the thing, but I do think look, they're all in. Like, this is a rare kind of historic opportunity if you're the Eagles to where you can say we are undefeated. We have the division is wide open for us, and we have the ability to just stack for this season and potentially win a Super Bowl. And then whatever happens after that happens. But I don't know if they need him, but at the same time, they've got a ton of draft capital. So if you can give up a little bit of it to load up and make a move to be able to, to further your chances this season, I think they'd make that move.
Yeah, I
Rosen's
see,
aggressive.
He is. I could see the Eagles trying to make a run for Kareem Hunt. I can't imagine that. I think it would be opposite. I would say the Eagles making a trade for Hunt would make more. I think it would make more sense. I still don't even know that they would need him. Someone else I could see him maybe trying to reach out to would be someone like Nyheim Hines for the Colts. Sure. Another good, out of pass catcher out of the, backfield. I mean, I could see something like that, maybe a little less. Giants are supposedly interested in Jerry Jeudy. I can't imagine the Broncos making that move at this point. I don't know why you necessarily would do that unless you're really going to get a first out of them for that, which maybe I would do.
I don't think – here's the thing that's interesting. I don't think that the Broncos can get a first for Jerry Jeudy at this stage. But I will say this. There's been a lot of interest – or let me say this. I can't say interest. There's been a lot of rumor about Jerry Jeudy going to the Ravens. And – makes sense on a few levels, and also him and Lamar are very good friends. So Jerry Jeudy and Lamar Jackson are very good friends. It could be interesting. After this Roquan draft capital being given up, I don't know that I see them making that move, and I think it's going to take at least a second and another pick to be able to get a Jerry Jeudy, unless it's a straight up a player trade with some lower draft picks associated. That could be interesting because the Broncos are nearly in rebuild mode at this point. They're not in a position to win. So,
but
it'd be interesting.
They're gonna think that they are, though. I mean, you win this game, you're only a game out, 2 games out. So I mean, I mean, I could see. Man, I don't even know, honestly. I mean, outside of the Raiders, would they be looking to move a couple of guys? I think they traded Jonathan Hankins. Was that? I think they had traded Hankins already, so I could see them looking to maybe do some other stuff. Some Brandon Cooks would be an interesting one. For whatever reason, though, I really think the Texans view him as like a building piece, and I think he's a good wide receiver. I don't know.
There's been a lot of talk about Brandon Cooks being moved. A lot of talk. Ravens were named as a potential team. The Green Bay Packers were named as a potential team. The Rams, Cooks going back to the Rams again. There's been some talk of him. It's funny. He's a guy that you don't even remember is even still in the league. I mean, I feel like Brandon Cooks has been playing forever. Yeah. But he's still out there mixing it up.
I think that would make his like 4th trade or something like that. He's all like people are always willing to get him, and then they get him, and then they're like, "What can we get for him?"
Never mind.
Never mind. Man, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I wonder if there's going to be like a surprise team out there making a run. Like maybe one of these teams that's a game or two out and think they really have a chance. That's the only thing I think that the NFL doesn't get right is the trade deadline, and I get it. Like it's just the offenses and everything being so complex, and you got to come in and learn a new system. And it's not like baseball. There are some things you got to learn in baseball, but team for team. But mostly it's just hit the ball, catch the ball, whatever. Like with football, it's such a different, just such a different thing. So it's you don't see these huge splashes. So
right. Yeah, agreed. I mean, it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. We got a lot of players that could get moved. We got players that we've talked about already. We've got players that, we may not have heard a word about or thought a word about, as it pertains to popping up on the trade deadline. You got to believe the Packers would like to make some moves to support Aaron Rodgers, but I don't think they have the draft capital to do it. I really
what
don't.
are you going to do, man?
I just don't think they can make moves to help that team. That's a bad football team.
It is just not good. It is not good. I mean, they're so high up on someone like Romeo Dobbs, and it's man, when you get that excited. I think he's going to be a fine, wide receiver, but
yeah, it's Alan Lazard and Dobbs and all these guys are just like, wait, what's going on, man? Like this is Aaron Rodgers, a multi-generational talent, and you got nothing for him.
All right. So our buddy T-Rock just chimed in. You probably haven't seen this, Tad, but he just chimed in. So I just heard if the Ravens lose Roquan next year, they get a compensatory 3rd round pick.
They always play this. Dude, if you it is amazing what the Ravens do with compensatory picks. And they by far, if you see this season they had a 3rd round pick and 2 4th round picks in compensatories.
Oh yeah.
So they've already, accomplished that. And here's what's really interesting. And going back, historically, the Ravens have the most compensatory picks awarded to them in the NFL since they started doing it. So it isn't unusual. So if you look at that, and a great point by T-Rock.
Everything.
Think about that. Okay, so now if you gave up a 2nd and a 4th, but you're getting a 3rd back if you lose him, right? If we can get him signed, no problem. But if we lose him, we get a 3rd back, which is essentially just the average there. And when you look at what the Ravens have historically accomplished in the 3rd round, you're in a position to then be able to essentially rent the guy for the league minimum, let another team pick it up. Yeah, let another team pick up his salary, help you win this year. If you can sign him, great. If not, you get essentially the average of the 2 picks that you gave up back.
Yeah. So you're just slotted right in that 3rd round. So yeah, I mean, it's a genius move now. I mean, I will hand it to him and say that there is zero, even if he blows out his Achilles at this point, heaven forbid, anything, it is still a move. It sucks, but it's still a move that you say, wow. I mean, that's playing on a whole other level right there. That is just genius. Now, I don't know if it's true. I will probably have to look into it. I'm sure if he's pulling, if he's sending that out, that it's 95% correct.
Yeah.
I mean, but
he's going to be very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And here's what I'll say. The Ravens, so if you go back, I think 2 years ago, they signed Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
And they had him, everyone was kind of hopeful. Hey, maybe they can make something happen. I mean, they let him go in free agency and they got a 4th round pick. They signed him as a free agent. He played for them for 1 season. They let him go, and then they get a 4th round pick for having let him go.
Yeah.
And so, and then you see what they do with some of these picks, and it's just, since 1994, when the NFL started compensatory picks, the Ravens have been awarded 56 draft picks since 1994. And of those picks, they have gotten 13 starters. Of those 13 starters, center Bradley Bozeman, who was the center for a few years and then went to the Carolina Panthers this offseason, which, guess what? I think that's going to give him another compensatory pick for having lost them. Tight end Nick Boyle, punter Sam Cook. Sam Cook was the Ravens punter for like 13 seasons and finally just retired, prior to this season when they drafted Jordan Stout. And so, you look at they've gotten 13 starters from compensatory picks alone. And so they play this game by far better than any team in the league. And this is, people, you hear stuff about playing, this is, playing chess versus checkers. This is definitely chess play right here, right? Where you can say, we're going to have a team pay the guy. We'll give up a second and a fourth, but we're going to get awarded a third if we can't sign him. If we can sign him, then this is a huge win for us regardless because we gave up so little. So this is a win-win no matter what happens for the Ravens. So dude, they're freaking good, man. They know what they're doing when it comes to this type of stuff. And so, who knows? I'll be curious if I don't know if they're done yet. It wouldn't surprise me to see them make some move, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. I'm just putting this out there. My spidey senses tell me there's a possibility that the Ravens will make a move on the offensive side of the ball, if for no other reason the fact that now, knowing this information that T-Rock just provided us, now you can kind of consider the draft capital that the Ravens gave up to almost be considered a wash, which then puts them in a position to possibly make an offensive move because they really feel like they didn't lose that draft capital. They're either going to get the player, which makes sense, or they're going to lose the player and just replenish the draft capital, and it's going to go right into the same draft upcoming. Yeah. So that may increase the chances of them making a move for an offensive player of some type. It could be a Jerry Jeudy. It could be a Will Fuller. It could be who's my man in Carolina, DJ Moore. The Jets say they're not going to let go of Elijah Moore. So, who's to say, but boy, that guy is very discontented to be in New York. Right. So the point is there's a lot of things out there, but again, this isn't just about the Ravens, but that is some interesting news. T-Rock throwing that out there definitely shines a whole new light on the situation with that Roquan Smith trade.
Yeah, makes it very, very palatable at that point. I mean, not that only paying $500,000 for him wasn't palatable enough. But
for an all-pro linebacker, you're paying him the league minimum.
Yeah. So not bad.
25 years old.
Golly.
Yeah. So pretty crazy. Anything we want to touch on before we wrap her up?
No, that's it, man. I think we're good. That's good show. Good show as always.
Indeed. Had a great time. Got a lot to look forward to. And You Get the Horns is going to be coming back tomorrow night. I believe we're going to be doing another full. This is more of a straight NFL show. Now we'll kind of do a traditional You Get the Horn show tomorrow night. We'll have some fun, minimally at least the two of us. We'll see if T-Rock might be able to join us, as Hefe, I think, is still out in Las Vegas, so he probably will not be able to join in. But minimally the two of us, possibly three. We will talk about a lot of different things. We got a lot of really fun stories to talk about tomorrow. I got some stuff that's going to be, I think, going to have a lot of fun. And then also we will be able to bring some breaking news as well, as the trade deadline will be, closing down tomorrow night. So as that comes to a conclusion, we'll see what deals are made and be able to talk a little bit more about, what we've got there. So, so with that, we'll wrap this one up, and we'll thank everybody for listening. Check us out. You Get the Horn Show here on YouTube. Check out our TikTok as well. And the Empire continues to expand. We're going to be moving into some other areas very soon, and you'll be able to find some content there. So keep your ear out, and we'll keep you posted. So other than that, have a great night, everybody, and we will talk soon.